Well, General, what have your sources and research revealed?
We just received word on, which is newsworthy, nobody else has released this news, is the fact that a submarine docked in Beirut a little over a week ago, a Soviet submarine with an Iranian flag. Probably that submarine came out of the Russian Baltic Fleet. But anyhow, the offloaders had gas masks on and hazmat gear, indicating to me that some form of chemical weapons are being offloaded from the submarine to the control of Hezbollah. Okay. The other indication are the recent reports that have been out there of the more advanced Scud missiles being shipped from Syria to Hezbollah control in southern Lebanon. And we did receive some pictures of where those Scud sites are located. Now, the estimate has been anywhere from 50 to 60,000 rockets and missiles have been placed in southern Lebanon, in houses, in buildings, in orchards, and of course the rockets and missiles they used in 2006 did come from pop-up type of a missile launch system that they've perfected. Now, along with that, we also have the reports of the tunnels that have been dug from southern Lebanon under the fence into northern Israel, much like they did along the Philadelphia line, as you remember, from Gaza into Egypt. So that tunnel technology now to put through hundreds of young, trained Hezbollah young men and possibly women through the tunnels into northern Israel.
What can you say with some certainty is different in terms of what is going on the ground in Lebanon right now? What are some of the things that you're seeing on the ground in Lebanon? And we'll deal with the actual attack speculation in a minute.
Two things. Number one, the training and infiltration of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard advisors working directly with Hezbollah to make sure all the funding, all the weapons transfers are up and running and effectively to be able to be used against Israel possibly this summer in a preemptive attack. Okay. So that we do know. We know the transfers have been made. We know about the tunnels. We know about Hezbollah locking down tight Lebanon just in the last 10 days.
What does that mean? Does that mean that passport restrictions are in place? Does it mean the Internet's being controlled? What does that lockdown look like?
We understand the Internet has been locked down, very tightly controlled. Also, anybody associating with any Israeli will be jailed or assassinated. We see assassinations have increased over the last year over there. So this tight network that Iran controls with Syria and Hezbollah has some of the other factions in Lebanon very worried, such as the Christians and the Druze who primarily occupy the northern part of Lebanon.
Strip, we saw a lot of homemade rockets, but Scud missile is not a homemade rocket. A Scud missile is a fairly sophisticated intermediate-range ballistic missile that carries a significant wallop. It's not terribly accurate over long ranges, but it brings a lot of pain to wherever it lands. You say you see signs of Scud missiles in Lebanon?
Yeah, it's been reported, of course, 2 weeks ago, and this was out in the news about Syria transporting those weapons into the Bekaa Valley and areas of southern Lebanon, and we do have some pictures that were taken on the ground of those locations. Now, these Scud missiles are advanced. We estimate the ones they have now 450 kilometers, which means they can hit almost any main city in Israel, okay? And along with the others that they've already used, they can rain terror down on Israeli cities and towns.
This is something that we can certainly put our finger on. They did, in fact, rain terror on Israeli cities and towns back during Gulf War, when they were, of course, being launched from Iraq under Saddam Hussein. What is the concern about a chemical weapon attack from these Scud missiles?
Very, very high on the visibility chart for the Israelis. In fact, the report did come out that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, and the government has issued chemical kits to Israeli families within the last 30 days. So the Israelis know something's going on up there, something very serious. That's why I call the summer of 2010 the tipping point for the Middle East. This can change the whole chessboard over there.
It certainly can.
But the other part of the Scuds and the missiles bill is the fact we know the Iranians, through Hezbollah, are planning to hit and preempt any type of Israeli attack by raining down on all civilian airfields as well as Air Force airfields of the IDF to lock down, close down any air capability the Israelis may have.
And that might
this is smart. This is very smart on the Iranians' part to do. And this is the first time this has been divulged, by the way.
That would consist of a Scud missile attack on airfields with conventional weapons designed to break up the runways and deny their use to jet aircraft.
That's correct. Here's the challenge of the Israelis right now, and this is why we want to get the word out, is that the targets that have been identified and updated by Israel on not only the nuclear sites in Iran, but the regime targets, Iranian Revolutionary Guard, command and control, port type capability, anti-missile systems that the Russians we know are giving Iran. All that capability that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard and the Quds Force has will be part of the targeting, I feel, of the Israelis. So it's going to go beyond just the nuclear sites. But here you have now on the chessboard with Syria, southern Lebanon primarily, in a position to go ahead and launch some kind of a ground and missile attack against Israel proper. So that's the new chessboard. And so this is a full-blown effort by Iranian proxies and Iranian partners such as Syria. And so that's why I want people to understand this whole chessboard has changed this year. That's why I say 2010, the summer 2010 is pivotal. It can change the whole world.
The rocket attacks that we saw from Gaza are essentially a nuisance, certainly more than a nuisance if it's your house it lands on, but in a wider sense, it's a nuisance. Scud attacks on airfields, and especially chemical weapon attacks. This is a whole different order of magnitude that we're talking about
Absolutely. Now. Absolutely, Bill. That's why it's so serious. That's why we've got to get the word out.
What Iran is doing through its proxies in Syria and Syria through Lebanon is they are trying to make it crystal clear in the mind of the Israelis that if they should launch this strike against those nuclear facilities, then there's going to be hell to pay for it. We're going to launch conventional attacks on your runways. We're going to launch suicide bombers in by the hundreds or thousands to attack your civilian centers, and we may decide to do wide-area chemical weapons attack. Do you think they're bluffing?
No, I don't think they're bluffing. I think they planned it out well, and it also includes Bill, Gaza, and the West Bank. So here you have Israel with the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, basically taking care of any ground attack by Hezbollah, any attacks coming out of Gaza, West Bank, and then southern Lebanon. At the same time, you've got the Israeli Air Forces targeting those targets in Iran. And by the way, everyone should know, Israelis decided 2 years ago, Bill, to put part of their capability offshore. And that's why they acquired Dolphin submarines from the Germans. And those are out there now. So the Israelis have been very good at planning this new initiative by the Iranians. And they're not going to make the same mistakes they made in 2006. They've reorganized, better planning, and they're prepared to do preemptive or defensive operations.
All of this dominoes that are extremely ugly are going to stand or fall based on whether or not the Iranian regime under Ahmadinejad is actually nutty enough to use this weapon if he gets it. You've studied the situation for a long time. Do you think he'd pull that trigger?
Absolutely. I think he'd use it against Israel. I think he'll use it in some way to put some kind of launch capability on container ships and put them off the United States rather than the ICBM capability that they're talking about. But we should fully understand that America, our national security operations, our JCS, Department of Defense, needs to be on top of this because we cannot allow Israel to stand alone in this.
No, we can't.
All right? We cannot allow that to happen. So the Obama administration has got to get on top of this and make sure that we support whatever is going on over there of the one democratic country in that area against what we call the global caliphate and the spread of terror by Tehran.
Well, General Vallely, thank you very much for coming down and joining us here at PJTV.
Thank you, Bill.